Metabolism, heart rate, and reproductive health. We all know that. Yet, for many women, thyroid dysfunction remains a silent companion, masked by the fatigue of daily life or the hormonal shifts of different life stages. In this panel discussion, we will bridge the gap between clinical evidence and everyday care. We will have three topics in this panel discussion. We will have presentation on thyroid screening in pregnancy, thyroid health in primary care, and thyroid health as a non-treatable disease. So let me introduce our first speaker. Dr. Nemesio Nicodemus Jr. is an endocrinologist and the president of the Philippine College of Physicians. He chairs the Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology at the University of the Philippines, College of Medicine, and practices at Philippine General Hospital and Manila Doctors Hospital. He has served as past president of the Philippine Thyroid Association, Philippine Association for the Study of Overweight and Obesity, and the Philippine Society of Endocrinology, Diabetes, and Metabolism. In 2025, he received a diploma of fellowship from the Academy of Medicine of Malaysia. To talk about hypothyroidism screening in pregnant women, let's all welcome Dr. Nemesio Nicodemus Jr.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. After that series of talks a while ago, wherein we were able to orient ourselves on women's health, we will focus on specific health problems in women. And for my part, I will be talking about one missed test, but two lives changed. And that is the case for thyroid hormone screening in pregnancy. These are my disclosures. And over the next 30 minutes, we will have three objectives that we will go over. We will describe the pregnancy outcomes and neonatal effects of maternal hypothyroidism.
Thank you, Mommy.
We will explain the rationale for early and more inclusive screening of hypothyroidism among pregnant Filipino women. And we will discuss the benefits and strategies of levothyroxine replacement in hypothyroidism during pregnancy. When you talk about hypothyroidism, how do you imagine a patient? Let's try to picture it in our mind. Perhaps when you imagine a woman with hypothyroidism, this might be a picture that you will have. A woman with several problems from head to toe. But we often do not discuss one very important complication of hypothyroidism among women, and that is reproductive system abnormalities. Women with hypothyroidism may experience infertility. In fact, whenever a couple comes to us for a workup because of infertility, what is one of the first tests that you would request? Thyroid function, isn't it? That's why hypothyroidism has to be ruled out. But then, they can have menstrual irregularities and even menometrorrhagia. That makes a woman with hypothyroidism have difficulty getting pregnant. So imagine if a woman already has developed pregnancy and so happy to be pregnant, only to realize that because she is hypothyroid, her pregnancy is at risk. And what are these risks that are associated with hypothyroidism during pregnancy? This meta-analysis shows you that several pregnancy complications that may happen in a woman, and let me focus on the significant ones. According to this meta-analysis, if a woman with hypothyroidism gets pregnant, she has 20% higher risk of developing gestational hypertension, 40% higher risk of developing severe preeclampsia, 20% higher risk of gestational diabetes, and even 40% higher risk of developing placenta previa. Masaya na nga sana siya, nabuntis siya, pero ang dami naman palang posibleng complication, no? Because of that development of hypothyroidism during pregnancy. But it's not just the woman that is affected when she becomes pregnant and she is hypothyroid. Based on another meta-analysis, mothers with hypothyroidism during pregnancy are more likely to give birth to children with higher birth weights. As you can see, they're way below. The odds of that baby becoming overweight is 32 times. Just imagine, hindi pa nga napapanganak yung bata, mataba na siya. At mataas na yung chance niya magkaroon ng overweight and obesity in the future, and this adds to another non-communicable disease problem in the community. So, the question is, what do we do as doctors who actually see women with hypothyroidism amidst us? And here is where I would like to present to you a guideline that was just published last year in the UK by the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and they call this the Green Top Guideline on the Management of Thyroid Disorders in Pregnancy. According to the UK guidelines, one question that they answered at once: do we need to screen all pregnant women for possible hypothyroidism? And so, the recommendation based on the UK population was that universal testing for thyroid dysfunction during pregnancy is not recommended. And according to them, the reason why that is so is because current evidence shows no improvement in the overall population of pregnancy outcomes using universal testing. But then, in the same guideline, they follow this with the next statement, that subpopulations with specific risk factors who are known to have a higher prevalence of overt thyroid disorders should be tested for thyroid dysfunction ASAP, preferably in the first trimester. And according to them, the way that we should be testing women for possible hypothyroidism is to use TSH and free T4 simultaneously. And this is done if you are treating a subpopulation who are at high risk because of specific risk factors. And so that led me to asking, what are these specific risk factors that we must be looking for in a pregnant woman? And let me share with you again a recent publication just last year of a systematic review of literature to validate the current risk factors for thyroid function test abnormalities during pregnancy. They included 81 articles and described 36 candidate variables. And these are the statistically significant risk factors that predispose a woman to develop overt hypothyroidism in pregnancy, and these include high body mass index, overweight and obesity, which we know are related to weight and obesity. Another group of factors that are significant include thyroid autoimmunity, and thus, if a woman presents to us with positive anti-TPO or positive anti-thyroglobulin antibodies, then they are also at high risk of developing hypothyroidism during pregnancy. And the third group of factors, which I find very interesting, is intake of non-iodized salt or no iodine supplementation. And so if that woman comes from a country with no iodine supplementation or high intake of non-iodized salt, that woman is at high risk of developing hypothyroidism during pregnancy. Of these several factors, as we can see, the strongest would be a a combination of TPO and anti-thyroglobulin antibody way below. And then going up, you can see that all these risk factors are significant, and that includes the intake of rock salt, which is non-iodized. And so if we are going to summarize the three most consistent significant risk factors for overt hypothyroidism in pregnancy, according to this very large systematic review, presence of anti-TPO, presence of anti-thyroglobulin antibodies, higher maternal BMI, and iodine deficiency or lack of iodine supplementation would be the three very important risk factors that we must look at. Question is this relevant for us in the Philippines? If we are going to look at higher maternal BMI, I will tell you that the most recent survey of the DOST-FNRI tells us that almost 50% of Filipinos already have obesity, majority of which are women. And as far as iodine deficiency is concerned, let me show you also what the National Nutrition Survey did. In 2023, the nationwide survey was able to show that among households in the Philippines, 52% consume rock salt, and that only 34.9% utilize adequately iodized salt in our country. You might say, Doc, di ba hindi naman lahat po ng rock salt wala namang iodine? Yung iba naman po dyan meron But then, in the same nationwide survey done by the National Nutrition and Health Survey, they found out that only 30% of rock salt samples were adequately iodized. So what does that mean? That means our country belongs to that subgroup of population where our intake of iodine is low, and our intake of salt that is iodized is also low. Furthermore, if you look at the nationwide prevalence of iodine deficiency among pregnant women in our country, the 2018-2019 expanded survey was able to document that the median urinary iodine concentration of pregnant women is only 122 micrograms per liter, which is actually much lower than the WHO adequacy threshold for adequacy, which is 150. And thus, based on the most recent survey, 21.1% or 1 out of 5 pregnant Filipino women has iodine deficiency. So, given that, should we be screening a lot of our pregnant women in the Philippines for hypothyroidism? I think it's a yes. And that's also consistent with the recommendation of the Royal College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. The thing is it actually cost effective? Because if we are going to do a test, one reason why other countries are doing universal screening is because of cost effectiveness. And so, I'm happy to say that here in our country, we actually did a cost-effectiveness study on screening for hypothyroidism in pregnant women, and this we presented as a poster presentation in the ASEAN Federation of Endocrine Societies last year, November, in Da Nang, Vietnam. And what did our study show as far as cost-effectiveness is concerned here in our country? You can see there 3 outcomes: stunting, miscarriages, and preterm delivery. And you can see that the dark blue line is universal screening versus the green line, which is no screening, or the orange line, which is high-risk screening. And here, if we are going to look at the cost effectiveness based on the outcomes, we were able to conclude that universal screening for hypothyroidism trumps no screening and high-risk screening, and is associated with less cost, particularly because you have less miscarriages, less preterm deliveries, and less stunting. Furthermore, if we are to look at the public sector funding versus the private sector funding in our country, alam naman po natin, marami sa mga pasyente natin, hindi lamang sa ospital ng gobyerno nagpupunta, kung hindi maging sa private, lalo na kung nanganganak, universal screening remained more effective and less costly than no screening, even up to 100% private funding. And that compared to high-risk screening, it was cost-saving with private funding below 40%. And in fact, the results were most sensitive to utility and cost of testing, meaning that it was really the cost of testing them that was really driving the cost effectiveness of screening for hypothyroidism in pregnancy. But do our local guidelines already recommend universal screening? Not yet. And so, in the absence of such a local guideline that will make us screen all pregnant women for maternal hypothyroidism, what practical guide can we have? Aside from looking at their BMI, and of course the presence of TPO and thyroglobulin antibody, the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists tell us that we can also look at whether they had prior thyroid surgery, goiter, thyroid nodule, have they been told to have previous thyroiditis, or have they had prior RAI therapy, and even intake of certain drugs that will affect the thyroid, like amiodarone or even lithium. And of course, do they have cardiac arrhythmias that may be secondary to thyroid disorders? And in the middle, you can see that autoimmune disorders such as type 1 diabetes, SLE are also at high risk of autoimmune thyroid disorders. And lastly, in the last column, if they already had a stillbirth before, or if they had second trimester miscarriage, all of these will make you screen that woman for possible hypothyroidism during pregnancy. So we now have a practical guide, but we also know that in the Philippines, we must be more inclusive of screening for hypothyroidism, since we belong to that group of population which has low iodine supplementation in our country. The next question now would be, if we are able to screen hypothyroidism during pregnancy, what do we do? Of course, you treat. And how do you treat a woman with overt hypothyroidism during pregnancy? There's only one tablet that you need to remember. That is levothyroxine. No question about it. If they come to you with hypothyroidism, treat them. Unlike perhaps some clinical hypothyroidism wherein you'd have to do additional tests and even consider other factors before treating for overt hypothyroidism, it's a no-brainer. You start them on treatment with levothyroxine. Question is it really beneficial to treat women with hypothyroidism with levothyroxine during pregnancy? To answer that, let me share with you the result of an umbrella meta-analysis and systematic review. What is an umbrella systematic review? That means they looked at all the other meta-analysis available, systematic reviews available, and reviewed them into one document. And this is the result. They found out that levothyroxine treatment significantly reduces the risk of pregnancy loss by 40% in women with both subclinical and overt hypothyroidism. So, for the woman who was having difficulty getting pregnant, and now that they know they have hypothyroidism during pregnancy, treating them will actually save that pregnancy. But not only do you save the pregnancy, you also reduce the risk of preterm delivery. And this is by a significant 42% in women with both both subclinical and overt hypothyroidism. So indeed, you save the baby and you make sure that the woman delivers at the right time. Aside from that, they were also able to significantly reduce the risk of gestational hypertension. Remember, in the meta-analysis I showed you earlier, one of the significant adverse effects of maternal hypothyroidism was gestational hypertension. Treating that woman with levothyroxine reduces that risk of gestational hypertension by 37%. And as far as timing is concerned, the question is when? When do you start treating the woman? And based on this meta-analysis, if you started during the first trimester early enough, you will reduce the risk of pregnancy loss by 23%. So the earlier you recognize maternal hypothyroidism and the earlier you start levothyroxine as early as the first trimester, you save the pregnancy. And not only that, similar to the one that we showed a while ago, levothyroxine, if given during early pregnancy, reduces the risk of preterm delivery by 38%. So two concepts that we need to remember. We need to recognize women with maternal hypothyroidism early enough using TSH and FT4 as our tests. And number two, we should treat these women once we document with them with having hypothyroidism. The drug, the only drug is levothyroxine, and initiate it early in pregnancy during the first trimester. But I told you a while ago that maternal hypothyroidism has adverse neonatal effects, right? And the most important neonatal effect is the one below, green. We said that the children or the infant is actually born overweight. Question: will levothyroxine treatment early in the pregnancy actually reduce that risk of being overweight in the child? And in the same meta-analysis, they included that particular outcome. And this is the result. That the birth weight of children with mothers who are hypothyroid and given levothyroxine was not significantly increased. Look at the confidence interval. It is from negative 63 to positive 2.45. It crossed zero, meaning it is not significant. That means there is a benefit in treating hypothyroidism in pregnant women because you prevent the infant from being born overweight. And that actually improves pregnancy outcomes. But how do we initiate levothyroxine? That's the next question for the clinician. Paano tayo magsisimula ng levothyroxine? And again, I bring you back the Royal College of Obstetrics and Gynecology guideline, and according to them, in women with overt hypothyroidism, you should commence levothyroxine treatment as soon as possible, and the suggested dose is 1.6 microgram per kilogram body weight per day, and you have to know if you are successful in replacing by retesting TSH after 4 weeks. So it's 1.6 microgram per kilogram. So ibig sabihin, binatay natin to sa timbang ng nanay. And in fact, that is what we would normally replace the woman with. This guideline here has been in existence since 2014. And that according to this recommendation, you replace levothyroxine based on the patient's weight. 1.6 microgram per kilogram body weight per day. And that in women with prior hypothyroidism who are already being treated with levothyroxine, you may increase that by 30 to 50% increment once you prove that they have pregnancy status. And so, traditional dose computation relied mainly on the patient's weight. But the question is, bakit timbang lang? Ano ba yung abnormal kapag ka ang isang tao ay may hypothyroidism? Di ba yung thyroid function? Di ba yung TSH? Bakit yung timbang ang binabatayan natin? And so, let us look at a study that looked into another way of replacing levothyroxine, not just based on the weight or the pregnancy status, but on the TSH levels when it comes to really titrating the values. And here, they compared two regimens of titrating levothyroxine, one in which what was mentioned was to actually increase it by 30%, or one wherein you use TSH as one of your parameter. And so, they enrolled pregnant women aged 18 to 45 with hypothyroidism and were on stable levothyroxine doses for at least 2 months prior to their pregnancy. And they tried two methods of titrating levothyroxine. A fixed, which is around 20 to 30% increase, versus the adaptive, which is based on their TSH. And the outcome was the proportion of maternal TSH concentrations within the trimester-specific goal ranges. And this is how they titrated using TSH. Dati ang sinasabi lang, magdagdag ka ng 2 tableta, okay na yun. But here, in this study, they tell us that perhaps it's not always 2 tablets. There are times based on TSH wherein you just need to add 1 more tablet, or perhaps there are times wherein you add 3 tablets instead of 2 tablets. See here that the higher the TSH, the greater the number of tablets that you need to increase the dose in order to achieve the target TSH. And based on this study, if you use the adaptive algorithm, more patients will be able to achieve their target TSH in as early as the first trimester. You can see there in the orange bar, the adaptive dose. Many of them, or 63.4% of them, were actually able to achieve their goal TSH in as early as the first trimester. Now you might ask, why? Why is the first trimester very important? Question, what develops in the child during the first trimester? The brain. And so the brain development of a child relies heavily on the thyroid hormone of the mother. So if you're not able to correct hypothyroidism early enough, you will end up with a child with problems with mental development. So really, if you use this method, you will be able to achieve the target TSH in as early as that crucial time of pregnancy. And again, based on the study, the fixed dose in the newly pregnant women with pre-existing hypothyroidism is even less likely to lead to a TSH that is beyond the target, which means mas safe. Hindi ka nag-over-treat, hindi ka nag-under-treat kapag ka ikaw ay gumamit ng adaptive method. And so, my dear colleagues, with these presentations, I'd like to end my presentation with 3 important lessons. 1, maternal hypothyroidism, as we have seen, is associated with several pregnancy complications and adverse neonatal outcomes. 2, Filipino women belong to the subpopulation with specific risk factors for hypothyroidism during pregnancy where early screening may be cost-effective. And number 3, levothyroxine treatment of women with hypothyroidism in pregnancy is associated with a reduction in the risk of pregnancy loss, preterm delivery, and gestational hypertension. And so, I would like to reiterate the title of my talk. 1 missed test, 2 people affected. of the future generation. Thank you very much.
Maraming salamat po, Dr. Demetrio Nicodemus Jr. I hope the presentation of the Dr. Nicodemus is as insightful as it is for me personally. Ano po. So, I hope everyone can consider that screening of hypothyroidism among our pregnant patients. And so for our second presentation, I'm privileged to introduce our second presenter, our second speaker, who's also my medical school classmate. So Dr. Arthur Dalio is the Chief Medical Officer of ABCs for Global Health Foundation, a non-profit organization based in Pampanga whose mission is to deliver primary care services to underserved people in the province. He earned his Doctor of Medicine degree as well as his Master in Public Health degree from the University of the Philippines, Manila.